What's up? It's me again. So I came across a quote recently. I want to jump straight into it before I forget. I heard a quote recently, like literally very recently. Today is the same day as I shot. It's later the same day as the last video I shot. So after that last video, I went home. I ate dinner. I sat down to eat dinner, and I went back on my phone to upload that video. And while it was uploading, I went scrolling Instagram like I usually do, because addiction to internet is a thing, and addiction to scrolling is a thing. And so I came across a quote. The person said, one of the many reasons, I'm added that part, but one of the reasons it's so dangerous to compare yourself to others is because you might be comparing where God put you with where the devil put them. Say that one more time. One reason it is dangerous to compare yourself to others is because you might be comparing where God put you with where the devil put them. And so it's not that hard. In fact, the devil, and maybe you don't believe in the devil literally, a lot of times I play along with the terminology of just light, what's high vibrational, what's low vibrational, what's good and evil, because some energies really are just pure evil. And so the devil a lot of times will exalt people. They'll show you a version of them where they have money and they seem happy. And sometimes you get a snapshot of a person's life right when they get this like sudden windfall, and they're happy and it seems like they're prospering, not knowing that the devil put them there. The devil put them there to bait. A lot of times the devil will do that. The devil will do that to bait other people to go in that person's direction, because they know we live in a world that's so materialistic. They know we live in a world that's materialistic. There's a song that comes to mind fairly often, and to be honest with you, probably because I feel like I can relate to it a little bit. I forgot who sang the song, but the song was, "What if God was one of us, right? Just a slob like one of us." And I think one thing we forget about the story of Jesus, as much as folks are claim to be fanatics of Jesus, I don't think people are actually fanatics of Jesus. I think they're just really fanatics of religion as an organization. But where did Jesus hang out? Let's really talk about this, y'all. Where did Jesus hang out? Jesus hung out in the hood, right, with the prostitutes and the drug dealers. He probably hung out in a neighborhood like mine than in a gated community. Why? Because if a healer is truly here, to heal, then they're going to go where people need healing. They're not going to go lock themselves in some gated community somewhere around people who are fine. And not to say that people in gated communities don't need healing, they absolutely do. However, these folks can't afford it, right? People who got money, they can pay for therapy, they can pay for acupuncture, these folks don't have any money. So when you really stop and think about it, one of the reasons why Jesus would want to hang out in the hood, in the gutters, is to remind folks that God is free, that salvation is free, that self-love is free. And just because that person can afford expensive therapy doesn't mean that you with no money don't have access to God, don't have access to the God within. It doesn't mean you don't have access to love within. Loving yourself is free. This is part of the reason why I say that. And I've been in situations where I feel like people have gotten themselves caught up trying to figure out if I'm legitimately who I say I am, or if I'm a good person based on my financial situation. and which is also immaturity, right? I feel like a lot of times where there's too much emphasis in piggybacking off that last video. I feel like there's too much emphasis on being smart and being intelligent in the brain and logic, being able to add 1 + 1 = 2. But I feel like there's just not enough emphasis on actually maturing into a decent human being. One of my most favorite quotes in a movie is Forrest Gump. And he said, "I might not be a smart man, but I know what love is. I might not be a smart man, but I know what love is." And his relationship to, say, ping pong or table tennis, I'm not sure if it's literally considered the same thing. Ping pong, table tennis, ping pong, right? His relationship to ping pong is also a really good example. He was just bored one day. He seen some guy playing ping pong. It looked interesting. The guy saw him watching. He said, "Hey, you want to try it?" And he said, "Yeah." And then he realized right away that he absolutely loved playing ping pong. And he loved it so much, he played it day and night. And he got so good, right, that he got endorsements. People paid him to endorse. People gave him money to endorse their ping pong paddles. And he went all the way to the Olympics with it. Right? He's not the smart. He said it. He said it himself. "I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is." And we, as corny or cheesy as it might sound, maybe you've heard these things before and you're like, screw love. I've done it. I've definitely been chronically single for a long time because I struggle with romantic love, but I don't struggle with love. Right? Romantic love involves other people, involves connecting with other people in hopes that they've also learned to love themselves. So I'm not making any excuses, but I just found going within to be a lot easier than avoiding myself to go, And so I also figured, I'm not an expert. I don't really consider myself an expert per se, but I figure the more I learn to love myself, the more it'll shift my reality in such a way that I should attract love. And yeah, it's worked in some ways, and in other ways I ended up with a lot of people obsessed with me. And so I think that's also a part of, I guess, I don't know if that's something I need to tweak or just something I need to just be prepared for. There's a lot of people in the world who have blocked heart chakras, and situation that, don't worry, nobody exploded. I think that was a car backfire. We're all right. But yeah, so yeah, the comparing is dangerous. Not being yourself is dangerous. And this is also a harsh learning for me, because not that I'm not always being my authentic self, I tend to downplay. And it took me a while to really, for it to really sink in that downplaying myself in a way is also a form of not really being authentic. It's like, I know I'm amazing, and why should I feel bad about, one, why should I feel bad about that? Why should I downplay that with within myself? Why should I downplay how much I love myself? Because people around me are uncomfortable or intimidated or insecure, right? Like turned down for what, right? And so I had to, that's just something I'm still processing. I was born with a Leo rising, and so it's like not really allowing myself to lean into that Leo energy sometimes. I realize that it's giving off mixed signals. It gives off mixed signals to a certain extent. It's like misunderstandings are gonna happen. If people don't make an effort to get to know me, of course, there's going to be misunderstandings and mishaps, right? While at the same time, I mean, to even simplify it, I've recently just been posting more. I've been posting, I've been posting myself more because I tend to just post memes and entertain myself. I've mostly been entertaining myself on my Instagram, but I recently was just like, you know what? Some of these conflicts that I've been dealing with, I needed to own my part and why and how I'm manifesting it, and it's not always about what you manifested. It's sometimes about how you handled what you manifested, right? It's like once it's there, right? You can't say, oh, actually, I don't want this no more. Sometimes you gotta just see it through, deal with it, and this conflict, this conflict situation, this misunderstanding that I've been dealing with, the softer part of me does feel bad because I feel like I could have pulled the plug on it a long time ago had I stood up for myself sooner. And I recognize people who got pulled into the drama, their lives are being affected. Some of their lives, if you ask me, I don't think they're going to be okay for a while. And I'm not saying I did it to them. If somebody spiritually attacks me and receives karma for it, that's really on them. While at the same time, as tough as it is to accept even an inkling of responsibility, is like maybe if I wasn't downplaying so much, right? Like, I don't know. So maybe I'm being hard on myself. You're welcome to comment. Maybe I'm being hard on myself, but part of me is like, dang, maybe if I wasn't downplaying myself, I wouldn't have attracted the bullies, and it wouldn't have spiraled into this drama. Because this person dragged a whole bunch of people into this drama, things just got way, way, way out of hand. And a few posts back, you see me venting just because I needed to vent. Spirit told me it's okay to talk a little shit sometimes. I am human. And while at the same time, it's like, I'm not all love and light. And sometimes you got to show that, like I mentioned before, I've worked with children a long time. And if you have children or if you work with children, kids will walk right all over you. Kids will walk right over you if you don't show them that. You don't show them your little crazy side every now and again. And the fact that I didn't really have to do as much as I thought I did, like, really shows that I was just putting it off. And like, yeah, a part of me is mad. Another part of me is actually kind of sorry for all of that. So, which is also what's kind of sparked me wanting to post more, because I'm like, this comparing, people comparing themselves to me and getting themselves messed up. It's like, right, I should comment on this. I guess I should talk about it. And, Spirit keeps encouraging me to tell my story. And one of my bad habits is a lot of times I don't want to talk about things until they're done. And then this situation just kept dragging. At some point, I just be like, look, Aquarius, we're fairly understanding, and which is sort of like our blessing and our curse. Although I use that phrase very loosely, right? Our patience and understanding can sometimes be a blessing and a curse. Because we're so understanding, people will feel like they can take advantage of us. And a lot of times, part of me feels like, okay, if I ignore them, it'll go away. And some bullies don't go away until you finally fight them, right? Right. So yeah, actually, one of the things I wanted to mention towards the end of that last reading, I was comparing two cards. So turn into a reading. I don't know. I might split it into two. I might cut this. I don't know. I may or may not cut this video in half. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'll think about it later. No, that's not it. You hear that music in the background? The softball game is over, so now they just partying. I don't know if anybody here from Brooklyn. Y'all remember the Latin Souls back in the day? Baseball? But anyway, yeah, I was comparing the, speaking of comparing, right? I was comparing this Four of Wands with the Devil card. I was comparing the four. Part of me, I'm sitting on this rock and my butt hurts. So yeah. But I was comparing this with that, right? And at first, I was thinking about, like, I initially looked at it as relationship because I tend to see this as not just relationship card, but a building card, like connecting with someone that you can actually build with. Four is number of foundation, like four walls, four wheels, four legs on the table, four legs on a chair. And I feel like the devil card gets a bad rep, right? Because we always think about the devil in the Bible and forget, like, this is tarot cards. This is tarot card. The devil card is also the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is karma. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is karma, right? What goes around comes around. I'll take that as confirmation. What goes around comes around. And I'm going somewhere with this, and it does tie in. Bear with me. Which is why Christmas being right at the beginning of Saturn season, right? Capricorn is Earth. Capricorn is also rules, restriction, boundaries. I think of it as like a dad energy, right? Okay, that's fireworks. I thought that was car backfire. I forget. It's around that time of year, so pardon that noise. It's okay. It's not as close as it might sound. Um, Capricorn is boundaries. Capricorn is karma. Capricorn is law. The law. So I feel like this also puts me in mind of light and dark, right? So I feel like this is a reflection of, I feel like this is, it might not necessarily, it may not be a relationship. It may be a reflection of the relationship with self. So I being somebody who's very love and light, and what I was just saying about not always showing my darker side. I'm not evil by no means, but sometimes you need to put your foot down. Sometimes you need to set a boundary. Sometimes you need to lay down some rules, right? Capricorn placements and Capricorn house placements shows us a lot about our relationships with our fathers. That's why I think of Capricorn as like dad energy. So I definitely think about my dad a lot. My dad was in the military, right? He was all about rules. He left the military reluctantly, to be honest. At the time that he was leaving, people were getting retired, right? Times do change really quickly. However, what my dad loved about the military is that it gave him a sense of structure. He made his bed. He got up early. He made his bed. He combed his hair. He get himself ready for the day, even if he wasn't doing anything. Like he understood the importance of structure in your life. And so I feel like that's in a way been my devil is lacking some structure, giving myself a schedule. Like I've done this before, that's what spirit reminds me. Like I once, you know what I mean? You ever think back to like, dang, like I was really onto something at one point. When I look back a couple years back and I was working out regularly, I gave myself a schedule. I stuck to that schedule. I would make a list of things to do and I would checking down the list. And it's time for me to get back to there. I'm also in Aquarius, which is January, and always think of January Aquarians as being very Capricornian. And so I feel like Spirit is also reminding, I feel like for me, the reminder is that, like, you know how to do that. And we don't know why you're playing around. We know you want this. It's like, we know you want this stability, right? Whether it be with 2, 3, 4 people, we know you want this stability, but you, it's like me, right? And maybe yourself, maybe you can relate. It's like, I need more boundaries with myself. I need more structure with myself. I need, to set some rules with myself and stick to it. I feel like they show you a couple in both of these, which is why the masculine and feminine, right? That the balance of the masculine and feminine, essentially, it's like sometimes Spirit is reminding us, right? It's like you've learned a lot. You've learned a lot, not just from that drama, but from life in general at this point, right? And now it's time to put all that stuff into some kind of structure. Get earthy. Get more Capricornian a little. Tap into that Capricornian ability to save, right? Capricorns are really good at saving. I've always thought of, people always think of Capricorns as like always having money. But if you ask me, Capricorn ain't necessarily the friend with the most money. They just always prepared because they know how to prepare. They know how to save. And I had to, I'm sitting with myself today, matter of fact, just recently, like currently, these are things I'm reflecting on currently is like, dang, if I were better at saving, I'd be able to take better advantage of the beginning of this new chapter. So now that I've transmuted all this energy, I've deaded the drama, I'm ready to move on with my life. It's like, dang, now that I'm ready to move on with my life, it's like, now what can I do? Now what do I do? Right? I need some money in my pocket. And I think back to all that money then come in and out my hands. I'm not saving well. I've not been saving. And had I been saving, I'd have had a couple $1,000 at least, even if it's not a whole, I would have had a couple $1,000 saved, and I would have been able to better jump into this next chapter. Not gonna say better, but I would have been able to jump into this next chapter with some money in my pocket. And so lessons learned on that one. So I feel like there's some balancing of masculine and feminine here. Light, dark. Yeah, that was good. That was good. So yeah, stop comparing. Work on yourself. Balance yourself out. Always go within. Always go within to figure out what's happening in your life. We're always looking outside of ourselves. I did pick a few of the cards, and it's a couple minutes left, so maybe I'll just take 5 more minutes and show you what the rest of the cards say. And I'm saying this because, this part is important. I wanted to bring this up first because it was the last thing I mentioned in the last card reading. And because, right, see, check this out, right? It's just kind of exemplifying the same thing. It's like I have this new idea, right? This Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles, that's literally what a page is. You're a page again. Every time you start a new chapter, you're a page again. So it's like, okay, now I'm a page. I'm ready to start this new chapter. And now I only got 1 coin. I literally have 1 quarter in my pocket. That's actually hilarious. Buying crap I don't need. Now I got a quarter in my pocket. Right? And that's this other card represents balancing that checkbook. It's like, ugh. Right? So yeah, that's been my devil. That's been my devil, is lacking discipline. Again, when I think of discipline, I think of my dad, military. And it's kind of like, I feel like that's my dad telling me, like, look, Z, not only do you know how to do this, but you've watched me do this. You've watched me do that. You've watched me be structured. I know that you are watching me, and I know that you know at least that. Even if you're not the expert, start with what you know. This is what I used to say to my students when I was tutoring back in the day. One thing I used to always say to my students is, be confident in what you know. right? We talk about confidence in that last thing. Be confident with what you know. Don't worry about what you don't know right now, but be confident with what you know, right? Because we tend to psych ourselves out worrying about what we don't know. And it's like, well, what do you know? And let's strengthen those strengths, as opposed to constantly stare at where I'm weak. And that's, that's where I right. See, that's just where that exhaustion comes from, right? Working hard. Wands is action. Nine is a sign of completion. So again, like completing this old chapter, right? Learning these tough lessons that I had to learn. Realizing that it was like my life spun me into one more test right when I thought I was done with the tests. That's why I'm not like exhausted, but I'm a little tired. I'm definitely tired. But 9 is like, yeah, we know you're tired, but that last chapter is over. And you work really hard, and at the end of the day, look, you got 9 wands. Right? You only need one more to complete the set. You only need one more to complete the set. So stop worried about what that person doing. Stop worried about what that person thinking you. Stop worried about these bullies. Right? You know what I mean? Deal with the bullies and then get back to yourself. Come back. Because you worked so hard. And Spirit is reminding you just not to quit now, right? Actually, the 9 of Wands and the 8 of Wands came out. Right? This card can actually represent a few things depending on where it lands, and I didn't necessarily do a structure here, but 8 is expansion. 8 is expansion. It's time for expansive action. I think I mentioned that in the last reading. It's time for that expansive action so that you can sit pretty. So that you can sit pretty in your Empress energy. Right? So like you worked really hard. Right? Keep taking that expansive action. 8 is also a number of infinite, right? So like the infinite, the intuitive action. Right? So that you can sit pretty. You got one more wand to go. So I feel like there's one more lesson. I actually feel like there's one more. Maybe it's not literally one. Maybe there's a few, but there's like one main important lesson that I feel like Spirit wanted me to learn, and it's likely have to do with the discipline. Like, we need you to get more discipline. Whatever the schedule is, stick to it. If you want to wake up at 12 every day, okay, but now what are you going to do from there? Although, probably shouldn't be waking up at 12. I mean, unless you work at night, if you're a bartender or something, that's the other, do what makes sense for you. But give yourself some structure, give yourself some discipline. You. And then part of that discipline does coincide with that last topic about not comparing yourself. Right? Discipline isn't just with money and material things. Discipline is also with your emotions. Not going overboard with your temper. Not comparing yourself to other people. Not allowing insecurity to get the better of you. Not allowing the little insecure voice to talk you out of things because maybe you're afraid of being seen. Right at the bottom, like as I was just talking, there's that strength card. They're like, you're strong. We know you are. We know you are. You can do this. Oh man, life is so fascinating, man. A Fool card is one of my favorites, is because I definitely I feel like I used to live in this energy a lot more confidently. And life circumstances maybe have gotten to me a little bit. But I'm getting back there. It's like I started off and it's really good. I guess also I was younger. More bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And just willing to go out there and just try stuff. So like we a lot of times, there's a saying that go, God looks out for babies and fools. Like, don't be the kind of fool where, people are fooling you out your abundance. But the high vibrational version of the fool is really just somebody willing to take a chance on life, right? It's people who just want to take a leap of faith. from the outside looking in, people will say you're a fool. That's why they refer to that person as the fool, but they're not necessarily a fool for taking a chance on life. Lady Gaga put a meat suit on. Lady Gaga put that meat suit on, and so on and so forth. Right? As much as we might not, as much as we all might not like the current president, one thing I can admire, I can find something to admire in anybody, is he said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna run for president and I'm gonna win." That's a massive manifesto right there, right? It's like, be bold. It is okay to a certain extent to go for that job you thought you wasn't qualified for. And maybe that's what I needed to hear, actually, because there's a couple things I've been wanting to do and feeling like I'm not qualified for, and it's like, you know what? Why aren't I? It's like, go ahead and put the resume in, let them tell me no. Maybe I should stop assuming everyone's gonna tell me no, because I came out of this weird chapter of stagnancy, and like, I think that's that's also one of the things that I've been processing. It's like, once that old chapter, that old chapter is over, right? It's time for moving forward. It's time for taking chances. Love yourself. Love yourself. Believe in yourself. I believe in y'all. I really do. I believe in all of you. They got strength card again. Believe in yourself. Here's the other thing I actually just noticed about a lot of the cards I picked. A lot of the cards I picked has this yellow background. It's sort of like orangey yellow background. A lot of the cards have this orangey yellow background to it, which also makes me think of sacral root chakra, right? Sacral and root chakra, which is really important, especially for those of us who are creatives and who want to make a living off of our art, right? That's very root chakra. That's very sacral chakra. Obviously, you're going to incorporate all of them, but that's very sacral chakra, self-expression and creativity. And I noticed, and all the other cards has this blue background. It's interesting because I was just thinking about the throat chakra, right? Because sometimes people will attempt to get my attention telepathically, and I'll ignore them because it's like, you got to open up your mouth, right? It's speaking things into existence. People, one thing I'm noticing, and then I'll stop here, is that one thing I noticed in the group that I had the conflict with, and I feel like one of the things they failed to really realize, and maybe they're starting to realize this now, but it's like people wanting to learn magic so that they don't have to do the things they're afraid of. And that's terrible. That's a terrible, terrible use of magic. To compensate for things you're afraid to do the thing you're afraid to do and learn some magic, because now you'll actually be doubly magical, right? So sometimes people are afraid to say what they want because they're afraid they're not going to get it. And so, I'm going to do this love spell. I'm going to use my telepathy to get their attention. It's like, God gave you a mouth too. Right? God gave us mouths. God gave us a throat chakra. And maybe you're mute. And so there's kind of an exception for you. God will meet you where you're at. So maybe you're mute, fair enough. Maybe your expression does need to be through writing and telepathy or something like that. That's a little bit different for you, okay? We're not talking. Okay, God will meet you where you're at. But if you have vocal cords that work, use them, because that's the other part of it, right? You have cords. They're vocal cords. When we speak, our body vibrates. This is one of the reasons why singing. If you notice, one thing I'm noticing one of the things that's trending, I'm noticing, is people doing a lot of affirmation songs. It's like, what's this young man on Instagram? He has this audio that's like, man, he comes in. Money comes after me. Money comes, I forget. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm noticing a lot of folks making like mantra songs. Why? Because you're speaking things into existence. We understand that it's not just the words, it's your body speaks. It's not just your mouth and your vocal cords speaking. Your body is speaking. What's attached to your what comes immediately after your throat chakra is your heart chakra. So you can really help heal your throat chakra by just saying how you feel. It's one of the reasons I don't have a whole lot of blockages, because I've learned how to express, at the least communicate, right? I was talking earlier about being a clear and strong communicator. There's the reason why I wanted to be a communicator, because I wanted to make sure that when I connect with folks, I want to make sure when I connect with people that I'm clear and concise, and I'm straight to the point, and I'm saying exactly what I'm feeling, and I'm saying exactly what I'm thinking. And I was also curious back when I was learning, and now I'm just going to ramble on. It's okay if you want to cut the video at this point. I'm just going to take up the last couple of minutes. What do we got, 36? Okay, I might take up like 4 or 5 more minutes. I know I said that 5 minutes ago. I forgot what I was saying, so maybe I should cut it off. But yeah. It's getting dark. I love this time of day. We got fireflies again. That's cool. But yeah, when I was younger and I was first learning about manifestation and learning about alignment, and that's honestly what I was initially going for. I'm curious. I was curious to see what would happen if I just focus on my alignment. If I focus on doing what's aligning, if I just focus on doing what is high vibrational. I guess I was kind of curious to see how high I could really get. And so it's like, okay, well, that's also why I don't lie, cheat, and steal. I wanted to have this pure vibration. I was literally just curious. I was just being young, curious Aquarius, and maybe being a little bit of a smartass, not really knowing fully what I'm signing up for. But I also figure this, right? If it's about alignment, then it's but so many pitfalls I should come into, because as long as I'm staying on my path and staying high vibrational and staying aligned, then the challenges I meet are the challenges I'm meant to meet. I figure, and if things are really out of whack, then it becomes more obvious. The more in alignment you stay, the more obvious it is when if some energy is knocking you out of alignment or knocking you off balance. This is why know thyself is so important. I'm big on this. Know thyself. Love yourself. Be yourself. All right. Peace, y'all.